Hello and welcome. Congratulations if you made it through my whole hour and a half of session 0 for my Dragonbane solo campaign. You are quite a trooper. Give yourself a boon on willpower. You've made it. This is session 1. I'm ready to play. But I promised you that we would stick to playing and less talking, but I do have just a few housekeeping items that we kind of left hanging after our character creation at the end of session 0. A couple things I forgot, some other things I wanted to mention, but we'll get to it quick. First off, I did forget that to add Army of One to my character sheet. That is the solo heroic ability that you get to choose as a solo player. It does allow me to draw 2 initiative cards per round in combat. Being a knight, I'm going to be mixing it up some, so that is invaluable. That'll be pretty useful. I made some other little corrections on my character sheet. I don't know, I kind of had an extra point in acrobatics for some reason. Anyway, I went through and arranged my skills. These I got transferred over on a permanent character sheet, so all looking pretty good. I think if you remember at the end of that character creation, I was humming and hawing and humming on what to choose for my final skill. I put it in hunting and fishing. But then, of course, we had that strange, odd turn of events when I ran my gear, or rolled my gear, and ended up getting a combat warhorse. So I decided to switch that instead to take riding, since that appears to be, that's going to be an important thing from time to time. I've got myself over here. Look at these lovely little standees. I think that is the most fully armored looking goblin I found. I think that'll work pretty well. But if I want to go for the rider in the mounted combat, look at that. I've got a good standee for that as well. And lastly, I guess you guessed it. I told you that I was going to try to do some conversion here. What self-respecting knightkin is going to be running around on a horse? Horses are for eating. Wolves are for riding. I mean, come on. So yes, of course I made a little adaptation on that. The main rule book does have a stat here on the back at the very end of the bestiary. So oddly enough, it's not in the main purchase bestiary, which is kind of strange. They do kind of swap over pretty well. But one thing the main bestiary didn't have is a little chart here of common animals, which is in the very back of the rule book. You know, it doesn't have vampiric bats either. A little odd. Anyway, you'll see where the horse is here. I don't know, probably pretty small on your screen. You'll see where the wolf, they do have a wolf here as well. Excuse me. But, you know, I kind of did a little bit of adjusting. That's when I first started thinking about it, I'm like, well, you know, Sir Isaac is a knight. He's a hobgoblin. He's no mere goblin. He's not one of the common rabble. He's knighted, for crying out loud. He has a trained combat wolf, not just some any old mangy mutt off the street. So, you know, I started looking around. Sure enough, kind of in the main bestiary, you could always go full-on warg. I mean, now we're talking, right? What could be a better riding mount than full-on warg? I mean, look at this beauty. Huh? You know what I'm talking about? That's him right there. Look at that. They did a pretty good job making these in miniature, I think. But, you know, the full warg is not too bad, really. I mean, when you look at the books, the common rules, it's not that bad. 18 hit points, 20 movement. He's a ferocity 1. He's a fairly low-level monster. But let's be honest, I did have to dial. I had to dial that back. I got to remind myself, Soul Society, you know, this is just a reskinned warhorse. Let's not go wild around here. So I did take that to heart. What I did was really just take the wolf that's in here and just made a few slight upgrades in it to match it to be more in line with a horse. The horse has a 20 movement. The wolf has a 16. I bumped my combat trained wolf up to a movement of 18. He's still slower than the horse. The horse has a hit points of 16. The wolf has a fairly low hit points at 10. I did bump that up to a 14. Still lower than a horse. I guess the reason I kept these two kind of lower is that I am going to keep all these skills. So he's got a bite attack that definitely does a bit more damage than the horse does, 2d6 instead of 2d4 at a higher skill level. Plus he has a higher awareness, higher evade, higher sneak. So I thought maybe I should keep the main stats a little lower to offset the stronger attack and skills. But there we go. So I've officially made a combat dire wolf that I'll be writing. I've got him written down, or her written down over here. I haven't given her name yet. I'm kind of awful with names, right? I have yet to name my campaign. I have yet to name my ward. I will get around to doing that sooner rather than later. But I wanted to get to playing. So I think, to my knowledge, that was all the housekeeping I had to do. I think that's the loose threads we had dangling. So let's start the campaign, shall we? Let's get playing. I'm ready to roll some dice, check things out. Oh, one last thing, I guess. I am in the process of writing a background for Sir Isaac Loosejaw. Maybe we'll get a chance to incorporate his knighthood, his background, his quest, how he became a knight. Maybe a little more storytelling at some time in the future. We'll see. All right, there's a little intro to my solo campaign. Perched on Redfall Ridge, High Karn is the last bastion of civilized kin. The lands below the ridge are rugged, vacant places. Down from here are the scattered homesteads of the Whispering Steppes, the elf home wetlands where no elf dwells, and the bent oak swamp with its dangerous quagmires. Past that is a realm of the Nightkin, and those lands are known only to them. Yet rumors and legends persist about these lands. Ruins of a grand empire lay buried under the earth. Monsters hoarding ancient treasures. Old mines dug in the ground once hauled silver and gold. Many adventurers have made their way down the Redfall Ridge, seeking tales, truth, and treasure. Those few who have returned came back full of haunting tales, but lacking any truth or treasure. Will you be the one to succeed where others have failed? Prove the rumors true. That's my intro. Boy, look at that. That print is getting light. Time to put some new ink in that printer. Chapter 1, Hijinks in High Karn. I spoiled this a little bit earlier. Threat. A gang of drunken halflings prowl the street at night, demanding dance performances and ale. When the threat triggers, you run afoul of this unruly bunch. Cracks me up. So, I don't know. I need to get a counter here somewhere, but, maybe a D12. I don't think I have anything that's D12. It's still going to be, I guess, maybe 6 counts on that trigger die. We'll put it up here for now. I think six counts on that threat will trigger the threat. So yes, this first adventure does take place in a town, kind of your typical medieval town. So I made some town adventures for this. Isaac, of course, I wish I had a good oracle for weather. I need to make one up or find one online that will have sunny and partly cloudy and rainy, so that I know how heavily cowled our poor nocturnal hobgoblin has to be, but haven't created that yet. So I'm going to say here that, Isaac gets into town early in the morning. Wisely, I think, unfortunately, his dire wolf, will have to stay outside the city. I don't think that terrorizing the local populace would be, they might be very scared to see a very large riding wolf coming into their town. So he cautiously has the wolf hang out outside of town while he goes inside. So he will be without his companionship for his time that he spends inside the city. Much like the original rule book or the campaign setting, I said they are just a series of waypoints. Waypoint 1, while in the busy market browsing a stall, someone bumps into you. Almost too late, the pickpocket is slipping away through the crowds. Will you lose an item, lose a silver, or catch the thief? I thought that would become a fun, creative way of doing it. Although I'm kind of a jerk. This is like the very first waypoint. Most characters who start, they don't have a lot of money. They don't even have a lot of items. I'm making them lose an item, not have the silver already. I mean, that's cold-blooded. That's cold-blooded. Oh. So Isaac wanders into town. It's early in the morning. The market stalls have just opened. Decidedly, I think you've noticed when I rolled up his character, he doesn't even have so much as a flint and anything, a torch to help himself through the dark. He has nothing. So I think he does indeed head to the stalls, I think with the intent to supply himself for the journey ahead. As he's there browsing the stalls for supplies, he indeed feels a slight tug at his pocket. For a second, he doesn't really think about it. How crowded is this marketplace? Let me pull up some of the oracles in here. I'm not sure. Let's take a look. Oh, rolling our oracles. I'm so excited. I know there's one in here for numbers. There is one here for numbers. Let's see. I don't know how crowded the market is. The number here, I'm going to kind of bump this up, I think, a little bit in severity. This is market day. There's got to be quite a few people running around. I'm going to say 1 on a D6 is few. 2, 3 is several. 4, 5, 6 is numerous. That sounds more like a reasonable number on it. Sure enough. So there's numerous. It's a crowded marketplace. It's the busy day of the week when everyone's in town doing their shopping, buying and selling their goods. So that thief, when at first he's getting jostled and bumped all over the place. He's trying to kind of stay out of sight. He doesn't see any goblins or hobgoblins or orcs running around right now. And as I said, they're not unheard of. It wouldn't exactly be, people wouldn't freak out if they saw a hobgoblin here in this town. But at the same time, it may make things a little uncomfortable, especially one with chainmail and a sword and a helm. So he tries to kind of keep a little bit out of sight, but people are jostling him here a little bit there as he goes through the stalls. And sure enough, it takes him just a second to realize that wasn't just a normal bump. He reaches down. I don't know. How do we... I don't have any gear, which is what's really funny. I would probably roll for gear or silver, but I really have nothing. I have rations and silver, so I guess I'm just going to split the difference. I guess 1, 2, 3, a ration of food is stolen. 4, 5, 6, a silver piece is stolen. Okay, so a ration of food. So he doesn't have a backpack, let's say, but he has a big bag, kind of tied against his shoulder that contains his food rations. They're much, I guess they can't be much bigger than what you would expect a loaf of bread or something like that to be hardtack. Not laid bread, but So anyway, but he feels it like someone cuts open and slits that bag and steals a bit of food out of there, and he kind of reaches around, feels the slit, kind of lifts the bag up a little bit. So no more food spills out, and he turns around. He just kind of catches a glimpse of this figure moving quickly, from the class away from him as fast as possible. He can kind of tell just because this guy's, everyone else is kind of milling around, jostling, shopping. This guy is not running, but he's making a beeline directly away from him. So how does he want to kind of pursue this? I think he's going to try to keep cool. I mean, it's just a ration of food. He's not going to panic over it. But at the same time, he's a knight, He's not going to tolerate thievery. Who is this guy? Does he need it? Is this a thief that's been prowling the market, preying on other people? He slowly goes and pursues. It's a crowded marketplace, though. I think I'm going to make some skill checks. He's going to try to keep this thief in his sights, but try not to panic it so the thief starts running. I think I'm going to just make an awareness check first and just make sure that I'm still keeping an eye on this thief as I'm pursuing him. 14. I'm losing sight of him. I keep kind of going through the crowd and make sure I can keep an eye on him. Let's see. I don't really have a description oracle here for what this thief might look like. Let's just say, he stole food. I'm thinking maybe this thief may not be, exactly a wealthy thief. Imagine him kind of maybe a person who might actually need the food. Maybe it's a struggling person in rags. So he keeps kind of pursuing him and trying to keep an eye out for him. I'll see if I can make another awareness check. I'm going to give him a Bane this time, though, because he lost him the first time around. And if he can't find him, he's going to lose this thief through this crowded market. He failed a second time. So I would say that thief is out of sight. I think maybe he's going to try to pick up the trail. He doesn't know where the thief is. It's not a super large city. We're not talking about Mammoth City. This is more of a frontier town. It's not like this guy can jump in all sorts of alleys everywhere. So he's going to go to the last spot he saw him and maybe just look around, see if there's any alleys in there, see if there's anything that stands out as being a trail. Maybe, the food that he had as a pack was not exactly tight to contain. If this guy was in a hurry, could he have dropped some of the food while he was on his way? I'm going to try to do a spot hidden just to see if he could pick up the trail. Oh, wait a minute. Wrong one. 3. Okay, he does get a spot hidden. I'll give him another shot at it. So he does see some remnants of his food on the ground being right in the process of being trampled. It does seem to lead, to the edge of the crowd, maybe on the edge of the market. So he's going to try to follow that and see if he can pick up a trail again. But, at this point, it's not looking super great. I'm going to give him another spot hidden just to see if more food fell on the ground. But I'm once again going to give him a Bane. I think he's lost sight. He's just picking up the trail. Let me see if he succeeds on this, I'll get him back on track with it. No, he did fail again at a 19. Look at that dragon, kind of a bummer. So he failed. I'm going to say all he found was a few scraps of his food at the edge of the crowd, slowly being worked, and that thief got away with a ration of his food. He failed in that one. I'm upping that threat counter. Wow, that one went by pretty fast. Pretty strong narration, I guess, on that one. But who knows? Maybe it'll come back to play a little later. I guess before moving on to the next one, I think it is fair to say that I guess I want to do some shopping. I know, so some of these things travels on. He's got a little bit of gold. So let's see in here. I really do need a flint and tinder and a torch if he's going to pursue this. So let's see how much those sort of things cost. Trade goods. I would think I would see a flint and tinder right in here right away. Oh, thunder light sources, of course. Flint and tinder costs 5 silver. He doesn't even have enough for a flint and tinder. He does have enough for a couple torches, though. I think it's 10 copper for a silver, so he's going to buy a couple torches. Knock off a silver. I'm trying to remember other kind of starting gear I could really use. That is a bummer. I can't afford a flint and tinder. That would be fairly handy to have. I don't know how I'm going to light my fires. I guess some good old-fashioned way, I suppose. That's why gold is such a valuable thing in here. I'm not going to take a lot of time shopping. Trust me. I just want to kind of a quick perusal. Can't even buy a blanket. Come on, man. What kind of world am I living in right now? I rolled really low on that starting silver. It was really funny. Made me laugh. I could buy a bucket. Okay, good enough. We'll have to make do with a couple torches. We'll leave it at that. All right, well, there was a lot of failures in that particular roll to begin with, so I didn't catch the thief. I think it's reasonable that thief got away before I had a chance to catch him. Waypoint 2 is one of those unknowns. Let's take a look at the Oracle. Let's see what we got going on here. There isn't a lot of inspiration here, I don't think, for city situations here, but I think I'm going to take a look. Maybe I'll just roll on the general inspiration table and see what kind of springs to mind. 3, craft. Flooded doesn't do much for me at the moment. Look at that, a dragon. Craft barrier. Okay, I think I got some thoughts. Let's see what else we got going on in here. Curiosity, I think I will roll on the area table even though we're in a city. I'm just kind of curious. See what might come up on that roll. Look at that. Abandoned outpost. Okay. So he's walking through the town. He knows that there's a craftsman, looks to be a carpenter. He's not really in the market. He's got his own shop out there. And he has these mammoth, huge stacks of logs scattered all over the place. And he's got men working on these logs. They're sharpening the ends of them, you know, and looks like they're making, you know, spiked fences. What do you call those kind of things you stick in the ground that kind of, you know, ward off mounts from coming there? Anyway, it's not ringing the top of my head on it, but it looks like they're making barriers and like that. And he kind of approaches them and just kind of watches them work for a minute. And carpenter approaches him. He's like, "Can I help you with something?" Isaac's like, shakes his head. Yeah. Carpenter's like, "Okay." He kind of goes back, starts working again. Carpenter might look a little bit uncomfortable while this horribly harmed fellow kind of watches him work. So he just kind of starts talking. He's like, "Well, we've got guard outposts, you know, outside the city, you know, leading down and rock, you know, off the ridge, heading down to the Whispering Steps, and we're kind of building, you know, supplies for the outposts. They've kind of been abandoned and damaged, and we're currently building supplies down there to take them down there." And it's like, "Well, what's down in the Whispering Steps?" "Oh, well, you know, there's homesteads down there. There are a couple smaller villages down there. Derby on the Downs is a village down there. So there's people down there that occasionally need protection. They do have merchants that come up here. Occasionally, even every so often, you know, we'll have some goblin and orc merchants come up, you know, from way north to travel up the ridge to sell their goods. But the outposts, well, you know, they've not really been manned very well. In recent years, I don't think the Lord cares to pay for, you know, watch guards down along a ridge when there really hasn't been anything coming up out of that in a long time. But the city council, however, feels otherwise. They think, you know, if the Baron's not going to pay for it, at least we should do, you know, is build some barriers there and reinforce those guard posts, and occasionally, you know, maybe we'll hire somebody to, you know, guard the trail. Oh, you say there's a Nightkins area way down there? Carpenter says, "Yes, that's correct." He's like, I don't know where, but occasionally we'll get goblin and orc merchants, you know, come and sell their goods up here. They do occasionally bring me decent wood from whatever forest they're coming in there. They have a lovely black oak that I often use to make furniture with and things like that sort. Oh, well, I'm kind of thinking about, I need to head down that way at some point in the future. Do you have people hauling all this stuff out there for you? Carpenter's like, yeah, you know, we do have people hauling out there, but it's still a bit of a ride out there. And plus, we have to install all these sort of things. Isaac's like, well, do you think you could use a guard to kind of at least watch them while they do their work? I don't want to guard one of the houses, but if it might earn me some coin, I might be willing to, escort them down to the outposts and help and guard them while they set up, the guard posts that they need. Carpenter says, well, I don't know if I have the budget for that. It wasn't really part of my budget. I'm just a carpenter. I'm just making the fence. But you could talk to the foreman who is in charge of the project. As it goes, but do you know where the foreman is? Yes, sure. He points the foreman out on a map. He's kind of got his own place of business at the edge of the city, inside the city. Okay. Thank you. I may head that direction. So he heads over there and starts talking to and knocks on the door of the shack where supposedly this large burly human steps out. Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna see if this human maybe takes a little more interest in him since he's got a little bit of a armored look to Isaac does. So I don't know. Maybe this human might recognize him as being a hobgoblin. Let's see. I do have an NPC template here for villagers. Usually I have a 10 skill. I'm going to give him an awareness skill just to see if he recognizes Isaac as being a nightkin. Oh yeah, he definitely recognizes Isaac as being a nightkin. So he's like, oh, a goblin. He's like, I'm not a goblin. Oh, well, you sure look like a goblin. I'm not a goblin. What? Well, what do you want? Isaac's like, well, I'm wondering if you might need someone to guard your men as they take all the supplies down to the guard post. I was speaking to the carpenter, and I'm understanding you're reinforcing the guard post down the trail down to, what is this, the Whispering Steps? Aye. Well, could you use a guard to escort them there and watch over them? Well, I'll have Isaac make a persuasion check. See if they got him. Oh no, that's a crit fail. Well, guess what though? I do get a mark here on my persuasion to get a chance for a skill up. This quartermaster who's in charge of the project, his eyes kind of get a little cold. It's pretty clear he doesn't care much for Nightkin, and he sure doesn't trust any Nightkin who's standing watch over his men as they set to work on it. He's like, no, I'm not interested. We have a budget, for our own men to watch over them. We're sure the heck, we don't have any need of your services. I don't have the money to pay you anyway. Go away. Well, as it's like, oh, okay, well, I'll be staying at the inn, for the next couple of days. If you find that you change your mind, and I said, I'm as you can tell, I'm well armored, well equipped. I'm glad to assist these men in their duties. Yeah, sure. Goodbye. And that's just him out the door. I raise my threat counter again. We're getting very close to halfling time. Well, that was surprisingly rather fast here, for the second unknown on here as well. Didn't go well for him. He failed at that kind of persuasion roll. Nothing really stood out to him on it. I guess the next place to go, we'll go on down to number 3 out there. We might as well do the best thing to do when you're new into town. You failed to get a job. You've already been robbed. People are already unhappy that you're here and running around. It's already disgruntled over this whole situation. This town is obviously not a great town to be in. He's happy to get out of here probably as soon as possible, but you know, it's already getting midday. I think he's probably going to go and drink. He goes into a tavern. And at that tavern, he noticed that it was a rather kind of, well, can you call it seedy when this whole town so far has been a little less than prosperous? But this inn doesn't exactly look, the tavern he wanders into doesn't look very, very prosperous. It's called the Dragon Ale Tavern. I like that, Dragon Ale Tavern. And sure enough, sitting there at a table, this halfling starts motioning over. Hey, you come over here. You interested in gambling? You interested in rolling some dice? Isaac looks over at him. I'm making an awareness check just to see if he sees anything kind of unusual about this guy. No, he doesn't. This looks like a very upstanding and a nice halfling. He wanders over to him. What do you mean? What do you got going on? Oh, I'm playing a game of dice. This is a gambling tavern. You care to bet? Oh, well, I don't know. I don't frequently participate in these kind of things. What are you playing? Oh, we're playing a game of high-low. Just all you gotta do is lay down some coin, bet whether the dice come in high, whether the dice come in low. You can win some money. Well, how much is the bet? Not much. 2 copper. Oh. Well, I'm not so sure. I think I'm gonna actually give this villager a chance to persuade Isaac. Isaac's gonna maybe resist, but I think I'm gonna give the where's those opposed rules? I need to remember all those guys. Let me quickly look at the opposing rules in here. Kind of remind myself. I think it's kind of good to get those once in a while. Opposed rules. Let's see. Open opposed rules. Nope. Let's see. If you sometimes you need to beat your opponent opposed roll to see an action that means both you and your adversary roll dice. Opposed rolls will open sparingly in the game and only when someone's actually opposing you. Well, then I'm not going to say it's quite an opposed roll, really. I don't think Isaac is actively opposing him. It's not like there's really a confrontation going on here. This halfling's just trying to persuade him to sit down and gamble a little bit, see if he succeeds. The halfling doesn't really succeed. Isaac goes, well, maybe I'll get an ale and I'll think about it. So he goes up to the bartender. Can I have an ale, please? Sure. I think an ale is like 2 copper. 2 silver, 8 copper. I should remind myself for sure that's the coin denomination. I think it is 10, 10, and 10, but I don't think I want to look it up exactly at this minute. So Isaac does sit down and starts drinking an ale. He's already kind of a bit discouraged how things were going here, but he knows in the long run he does kind of want to go towards that Nightkin area in the north. It's an area he's been tasked as a knight to go and parlay with. So he's heading that direction, but he really doesn't know much about it or about where it is or really how to get there. But at least all he knows is far to the north, and he's kind of been heading that right direction slowly over the past several months. But at least he knows now if the people in this town are aware of them and sometimes trade with them, well, he must be getting closer. That's a very good sign. So he kind of looks at the bartender behind the counter. Let's see here. I think it might be kind of fun to, when I think about when I want to have these NPCs in front of me. I haven't been rolling for them. Maybe I'll kind of roll a little more and see what kind of NPCs they are. I might as well roll off the Ken's table here. It makes sense. This guy behind the counter is another halfling. This is a town rich in halflings. And he asks the bartender, he's like, well, hi, I'm from out of town. This bartender looks him up, looks him down. He recognizes him too as being a nightkin. Goes, clearly. Yeah, you look like a goblin. I'm not a goblin. You're not a goblin. No, I'm not a goblin. Uh-huh. What can I do you for? Thanks for the ale. I guess I'm new. I guess I was wondering if you know much about the lands to the north. He's going to try to persuade him. And he kind of does. I guess the bartender's a little bit more talkative, so he's like, well, I was like, well, I don't know much. You know, if you head north out of here, it's the Whispering Steps is the next place down. If you head down the trail, it's a pretty steep trail going down the ridge, and it'll lead you to the Whispering Steps. You won't find much there. It's tall grassland, pretty empty really, but there are some homesteads out there, some small villages of farmers, you know, trying to eke out a living out there. Occasionally they come into town to sell their goods. You know, you might get lucky and find a merchant in the merchant stalls from, you know, one of the towns who might be able to tell you more about it. But I don't know. Other than that, nothing good ever comes out of the north. You know, present company excluded. Well, I'm not from the north. Oh, I gave this them. Okay. The bartender goes, okay. Is there anything else? No. Hey, is that dice game over there on the up and up? I'm gonna try to persuade again this bartender at a Bane for no real reason. Oh my god. I succeeded on a Bane. The bartender says, no, a dice game's definitely not on the up and up, but it can be. You know, you tell a halfling, if you tell that halfling over there that I know what he's been doing, and if he didn't start running an honest game, he didn't put away those loaded dice, I'm going to kick his ass out of here. You go give him my message to me, you know, maybe he'll pull out some honest dice and give you an honest game. Every once in a while, I have to pull this threat on him. For some reason, he seems to think he needs to get away with pulling out those bad dice of his when I'm not looking. Oh. So he goes, okay, yeah, I can do that. He goes back to the halfling sitting over the table. Oh, the halfling perks up. Changed your mind, have you? Oh, that's great. You know, have a seat. It'll be fun. And Isaac says, hey, you know, I just talked to the bartender here. He said you better put away those crooked dice or he's going to kick you out of this tavern. The halfling kind of sours a little bit. What? I don't have any crooked dice. What is he talking about? I'm telling you what he said. I don't want to be the one that has to do it. The halfling kind of takes a step back. He kind of looks a little bit like, what? I'm going to roll another persuasion roll. Boy, Town Adventure is all about the persuasion. Fail the persuasion roll. The halfling's like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. You know, you don't need to kick me out of here. I don't know why he's so upset. You know, I tell you what, you want to play a game with me and let's just relax. I promise I'm not cheating. And we'll play an honest game. I tell you what, you win 3 in a row, I'll throw in a special prize. Special prize? What kind of special prize? Well, you need to win 3 in a row to find out. You know, that bartender's watching. It says if he sees those crooked dice you have out here cheating me, I mean, he's made it pretty clear. Don't worry. I'm not cheating. Let's play. You guys ever played a game of high-low? Very simple dice game. a betting dice game. If you ever feel like including it in a campaign or something you're running, it's kind of fun. It's easy. 2d6 is all it takes. High is 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Low is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7 wins you 4 times your bet. So trick is to just basically bet 2 copper. Say the dice are going to be high, you roll them. If they're high, you win 2 copper. If they're low, you lose 2 copper. If you rolls a 7, you win 3 times the. If you bet, win, you win 3 times the bet. So it's actually a fairly good game. So let's play a couple rounds. I'm gonna play 3 rounds. See if I can win that treasure. So I bet 2 copper. I'm gonna bet high. A 7. So I actually win 4 times that roll. So 2, 4, 6, 8. I just won 8 copper. Okay. The halfling must be feeding me the honest dice because he doesn't look too happy about that. It's the halfling's turn. Let's see. He's gonna bet low. I think that's how that works. No, I guess I continue to bet. So I guess I'll bet again. I'll bet low this time for 2 copper. Oh, I won 6. Okay, so I bet 2 copper. So I gain 2 copper. You double your money. Oh, I guess this should be 6 because I bet 2. I won 4 times my bet, so I won 8. But that's actually I bet 2 being with, so it's only 6. Okay, well, 3rd time in a row, I'm gonna bet high. Let's see. Come on, baby. Oh, I won 3 times in a row. Look at that. I won another 2 copper. Just like this, I'm getting flush for money. So, well, the halfling really looks upset. He's like, that's it. That's enough. See, you can see right now, I'm not playing crooked dice at all. If I had my crooked dice out right now, you never would have wanted to say, but, never mind. I told you would get a prize. I'll give you a prize. I'm going to draw a treasure card. All right. Wow. Suddenly, winning on a 7 and 2 wins a high-low, all of a sudden, I'm flush with cash. Isaac might need to take up gambling, more often. Wow. Maybe I should make every one of my waypoints a gambling waypoint. Okay. I don't know why I'm shuffling. It's about as shuffled as it's going to get anyway. It's already well shuffled. Okay. Some silver coins. What, are you kidding me? Okay. A bag of silver coins. D6 plus 10. I think I mentioned that little house rule. Let's roll a 6 and see if this is actually a magic item. It is not. It's 2d6 silver. 2d6 plus 10. I'm sorry, d6 plus 10 silver. 12 silver. Holy cow. Wow. What the hell just happened? This suddenly turned very profitable. I guess it didn't take too many good draws on the treasure card to get back on the action here. Okay. Well, I can already see some of my waypoints I've made for this campaign can be resolved pretty quickly, but it was like that here in the campaign 2 as well. Just depending on what you rolled, if you weren't getting into combat every single time, which as I mentioned, you probably shouldn't be getting into combat every time. Some of these encounters come by pretty quick. Went that way for me too. That's fine. I think the city should be a little bit light and breezy. You don't want a lot of drama in the city. You don't ever lower a threat dice though, right? I had a very good success in this run, but I think that threat dice stays the same regardless of how successful I was at the 3rd waypoint in this particular scenario. So I think Isaac is shocked. He doesn't normally gamble, but gambling's very common among goblin and hobgoblin community. Everyone knows how to play high-low. That's if it wasn't for gambling, you know, what else are you going to do when you're drinking? I mean, that's Nightkin rule right there. Drinking and gambling go hand in hand. So little did this halfling know that Isaac was actually quite skilled at rolling dice. Oh, but it's okay. He didn't say anything. He actually shocked as the halfling is. He's like, well, you're right. I will tell the bartender on my way out that you're an honest halfling. You don't need to worry. You're an honest kin. You treated me right, and I'll make sure to let him know. Here, I'll even buy you an ale. And he takes him and buys the halfling an ale. The halfling's shocked. He's like, oh, well, thank you. I guess you're all right too, goblin. I'm not a goblin. You're not a goblin? Well, what are you? I'm a hobgoblin. What's a hobgoblin? Well, I'm not a goblin. I don't know what to tell you. We're different. I'm big, right? Well, you're bigger than a goblin, but that's not saying much. I'm almost bigger than a goblin. The halfling kind of laughs it up. Well, okay, whatever. You seem all right by me. I'll never see a bad thing about hobgoblins ever again. Not that anyone will know what I'm talking about. Isaac goes, well, okay. He goes to the bartender and he tells him, yeah, you know, I actually won some money off that halfling. He seemed to he must put away his crooked dice like he said, and I won some money off him. And I buy him an ale. And the bartender's like, well, I can't believe you made an honest man of him and robbed him blind at the same time. Maybe that'll teach him a lesson that, you know, if he doesn't do right around here, well, I hope that doesn't teach him the wrong lesson, that he needs to use crooked dice to win games. Oh dear, this might have backfired. He says, well, that's all right. Do you know where I could get a room around here? He's like, well, yeah, there's, you know, I don't have rooms here at my tavern, but there's an inn, you know, about 3 doors down the corner. I think they take your kind. Anyway, nice meeting you, and good luck. So Isaac walks out. Well, now Isaac suddenly finds himself incredibly flush with cash. I've got 10, 17 copper. I guess I'll convert that down to 7 copper. Add 1 more silver, 12, 14, 15 silver. All of a sudden, just like that, wow, fortunes change rapidly around here. So I guess I will go to the market. Let me do some more shopping, and then we'll call it a day. But that turned out that surprisingly went well. That I won 3 times at high-low. It's all random after all. All right, flint and tinder, 5 silver. Leaving with 9 silver left. Boy, wouldn't mind getting an oil lamp, but I guess that's not going to be happening. I guess we'll stick with that and 2 torches. Wouldn't mind a backpack, but I don't have gold money yet. I still only have silver money, but at least I got flint and tinder, so I'm not going to be wandering around in the dark on my travels. It'd be nice to get sleeping furs even too much. A blanket is 5 silver. I think I will get a blanket. Granted, I'm not having outdoor traveling, but it just feels right to make sure I have a blanket. At least I'm not sleeping on the cold, hard ground like apparently Isaac's been doing for several months now. Perhaps Isaac lost his gear. Maybe there's a backstory to tell about that. Thanks for joining me in my first little bit of a campaign. I made it to the first 3 waypoints pretty fast. It might have been because of the the rapid failure there, but it ended on a high note, a surprising high note. Take care, everyone. We will move on to our next session next time. Probably going to post maybe once a week on average. Take care.